to eat, or I need some water tonight.
No, yeah,
Believe me, I'm in that place where I'm like buying a gallon of water and I'm.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can afford to buy the gallon of water bottle too.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
We have to be out of here by 11:30, so really.
I just want you guys to know that I'm really behind it. I know, might not be able to do a lot, but I can do something.
I appreciate you, Dad. Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad donated the first $2, $5. He got $7 raised. That's a good start. Actually, that's a good number.
That's
Really, probably.
That's enough.
You
Oh,
know,
that's enough.
That's enough for now. So, and that's the truth too. Like, I definitely agree with that. It's like with everything, it's building momentum. I really like the idea. I really think that we could really start actually talking about fundraising opportunities and even canvassing, and also, and something I know that you're familiar with as well, is setting up events to advertise and have some like good people there that can potentially contribute to it. So really intentionally inviting those people too. I'm connected to such a huge group of artists and things, that are excited about this whole thing. I want to bring them all together and maybe, come up with a deal like if we sell some art, like 10% goes to the nonprofit or something along those lines. Just try to bring everyone out. Even Alchemy Productions would probably, a lot of those people would be a part of that. I don't know if you've been to any of those shows. It's like I work pretty closely with them, but pretty good, like bass shows. Hi, Mom.
Fire at aquarium, like
You can't see me, right?
We don't see you yet. We need to
Okay,
turn
good.
the camera on.
That's the way I planned it.
I see Mama Bear, I see the word Mama Bear.
Okay.
Rebuild, seeking
She doesn't-
volunteers, that we agree with time, basically asking for
Okay, yeah.
participate,
Yeah.
and encourage, donate animals, and other things to it.
Great.
So, be the cool.
She just doesn't want the camera.
She's on her home.
Yeah, she's good. Thanks for coming, Mom.
Yeah,
I'm here.
We can definitely start to do that fundraising like ASAP. Like there's nothing stopping us from getting started. And
One of the things that you, even beginning of that, come back, not an elevator, but like a presentation.
No, that's, yeah.
That you just.
Hey, Craig.
That person said, this is what we're here
Right.
for. This is the purpose of what we're doing. And then you can sort of do anything you want with the event, come just music and enjoying yourself or whatever, but make it clear that what we're trying to do is awareness and build support for what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's
A
a
PowerPoint?
go ahead.
PowerPoint.
A PowerPoint presentation.
That would be nice.
Short one?
Like if you could, right, because you have friends that actually do,
Something that's like
the media, like.
5 minutes.
Put it up on big screen, you can just sit back and watch it yourself, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't
Very
have to
short
be
PowerPoint.
doing it every
Very
time.
short.
Yeah, we
Right.
want to keep basically just give like some of the major points of what we're trying to accomplish in the most like immediate future, and then give the large vision, and that's probably it.
Or even beyond PowerPoint, because, so now
Video.
right, it's becoming such a.
Well, yeah,
Thing
you just want a person,
express
you want a
yourself.
person presenting the PowerPoint, not just like a voiceover.
Well, there's the two.
Probably.
There's two
Because you
benefits
guys
to
would
it,
be there
yeah.
representing anyway,
Yeah.
so it could be you're the initial, let's say, goodwill ambassadors for this thing. So,
But if it's like a person film presenting the PowerPoint, then like it runs itself, right?
well, again, so PowerPoint is actually, way back when I was in Franklin College and graduated in 2000, PowerPoint was big then. But what's happening now is because of all the online media and stuff, is that people are starting to just mash everything together and make it a
The meeting.
video, music, effects, all the things that you need, whatever you need.
Are you saying something, Mom?
PowerPoint's actually in it.
I'm talking to myself.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, let me know
But-
if you have
but-
anything to contribute or you want
but
to.
I-
Just
Yeah,
interrupt.
But
yeah, you definitely raise your hand if just in case, and we'll definitely do this.
Well, I
No, no,
wanted-
no, but if she hits the raise hand button, it'll like pop up here on the screen and
under reactions, you can click raise hand like this, and then we can see.
Well, I have to find the meeting first. I can hear you. But listen, since I have your attention for a second, I can hear you fine, Christopher, but like whoever is around you, I think I can hear you and Glitz, but whoever's around you, I can't hear them. It's like really super glitchy. So if you're recording this for other people to listen to, they're not going to be able to hear you.
Okay,
Thank you for telling us. We've moved closer to the device here.
I think maybe some component of it is a challenge with the connection. It looks like the connection isn't super great.
She said that it was
Okay.
also proximity to the device.
It's
though.
also
She could hear us.
proximity, so yeah, it's probably going in.
Projecting towards the microphone.
So yeah, so we're talking with this mic here, that's definitely helpful too. And now, I mean, you're the first time that somebody's actually really even
We
hopped on the
appreciate-
call, so.
Yeah, we
you know,
appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, so thanks for.
You're already
giving us-
helping us optimize the process.
Exactly, Optimus priming.
So we
the process.
probably will want to get like a microphone like they use in the office that we could like sit here in the middle of the meeting space and have a better reception for
I agree,
our
yeah.
guests that are on.
So yeah, we'll continue setting up, that's actually, I'll just add that to here, better video meeting setup. And we're also probably gonna start doing it on this, the Josh Haver server thing instead of Zoom. At a certain point, once I can connect with him and get a better, understanding of how to do that, might be a better
Yeah,
bet.
I spoke with him yesterday.
Yeah,
He's really asking for something very affordable. He wants like $200 a month to run our whole fucking IT like system. So
Okay.
like
yeah, that's something that's feasible.
that's what I told him. And I said maybe in like a month we might be able to
Yeah,
think
well,
about
that's the
something
type of
like
stuff
that.
that we could be raising funds for to begin making sure that we're getting the, the technology system together.
Right. Having a
But,
having
yeah.
a professional setup or more professional setup is gonna help us to make
Yeah.
these meetings accessible for people who do tune in online.
Mhm. I agree with
So
that.
thanks for helping us optimize.
That's
Yeah.
what Mama Bears do.
In case you didn't know, Glitz and I are creating our, team as Optimus Primerica for our Primerica team.
You
So,
did tell me that.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. We got.
Are you a Transformers fan?
Transformers?
Uh,
No.
So for all those who are watching the recording, we've raised our first $7. 2 has come from my father Scott, and the 5 has come from me. Our first $7 will be the seed for the next $7 million.
I think you should buy, you should buy a donation jar with this $7. Really radical, like something that actually works. for
If you want to
like-
donate a donation jar,
Yeah, we could.
I already donated a couple of tires and some food, so
Yeah,
oh yeah, no, I was saying that for the recording more than just you, love.
It really does matter.
Ah,
Little things
okay.
Actually matter, because what you're doing is you're making a statement about everything that you're trying to do with all those little details, and so if you show up, it's just like a guy on the side of the road playing a guitar. If he's playing a guitar, he doesn't put a sign on an open page that he's accepting donations, no one's gonna throw money in there
Right,
until
right.
until he says, I am accepting donations for what I'm doing here, I'm providing you entertainment, so.
well, then that's really brings me to the thing that we've talked about a lot, but definitely is a huge component is the creation of vehicles, the creation of these things, these,
Vehicle.
really movements as well, like the vehicle moves, right? So it's like, you gotta put gas in the vehicle, you gotta like have someone driving the vehicle, you gotta even maybe want passengers in the vehicle. But it's like, you really try to create these places that people want to be in and go to.
I would even argue that
yeah, it's
the problem with these movements is that they don't have vehicles associated with them.
Yeah,
That you have all of this energy and nothing put in it.
right.
It's just like
A lot of, I think it's sort of similar to, the take action part of your voice, like in other words, if you get all the way to the point that you say, well, this is what we got to offer, and then you don't say, here's how you can help us out with this, then you miss the whole point, you're not,
Well, that's
you're
the
not giving
close.
them a vehicle to actually help you or to jump in on.
Right, so
right,
that's the
it
close,
seems
right?
very, it seems,
Close,
it's
right.
all very cathartic. It's
Yeah.
all well and good. We're all very emotionally activated, but if we don't have a point of entry for this energy to start affecting anything beyond just that.
Right, well, that's the thing, if we go to somebody, we present a great idea, they're all amped up, they're excited, wow, this is amazing what you guys are doing, this is so great, how can I get involved? And like, well, I mean, you could just show up to a meeting, like, it'd be like, okay, well, I mean, like, I wanna get involved, like,
Right.
which I agree, we got.
You gotta ask for the big dream. You gotta ask them
Right.
to literally do everything they possibly can do for the movement
Right,
by themselves.
but that's where.
Whatever that
And
means.
that's the thing too, though, like, that's where they're creating a vehicle, right? So at least have the vehicle, even if it's not being driven yet, like, have some of the.
It's the pastor asking for $1 million.
Well, it is, right, that's where we have to finish at the end, is essentially just being like, like, this is how you can get involved, you can go canvassing door to door, you could start growing these food forests over here, we got some people, it depends on what, like, the people that we have involved already, and like, how excited they are, if somebody is coming in, like, how can I get involved? But then they're like also not really wanting to put any like actual effort for it, then then that's whatever. But if someone's like actually excited about it and we're going around like, we want to have at least something that we can then put them into to get them plugged in, right?
Exactly.
So it's at least even just creating the very first vehicle of like just connection, and partially that is the group chat, right? Because at least at first, partial, just the beginnings, right? It's like a tease because it's just. This is, you can at least get involved by showing that you can participate in like a conversation, or that you're just want to see, well, the Facebook page is the next part.
I think I would argue that the chat is an example of the movement. It's not a vehicle yet. It's like,
Well,
it's great. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying there's a problem with it,
Yeah.
but it's an illustration of wasting energy.
yeah, I mean, but it's,
My-
I
my-
don't know, it's cultivating it, it's things are happening.
I disagree with the waste. I
Yeah.
don't think anything gets wasted because, so when you're doing this stuff, I'm hoping, and I think everybody else is too, is that your heart is really in it. In other words, you believe in this thing, and you're doing what you know next to be the next thing you need to do. So the chat actually has got this whole thing starting to roll. So in
Right.
other words, it's the beginning of a roll.
The fact people are
It's a
seeing
vehicle
anything
starting to
happening,
move.
right?
I think it's an example of the movement because it's not optimized in any way to capture energy yet.
It's not
just-
optimized yet, that's correct, but it can be. It
Right.
can be, and
It's-
I think it actually, not optimized, but it still
There's
is
still
doing that.
there's still momentum in a movement.
Yeah,
This what separates the movement from a vehicle is a purpose and a definite purpose, a purpose for the experience.
Sure.
And
well,
I understand that the goal of the chat is to plug people into that purpose,
right,
but it's like a recruiting ground. It's a recruiting ground from the movement. It's
Right.
not actually a vehicle yet, in my opinion.
I see, I mean, semantically speaking, you're, correct in a lot of ways. In the same sense too, it's, it's what we have at the moment.
I'm not knocking it.
I know you're not, but what I'm saying is like what we have right now is we're working with this group of people who have at least expressed even just a minor bit of interest in participating in even just the conversation. The
Mhm.
conversation is a good place to start for people to throw all these things at and
Mhm.
see what they're all collectively thinking. And to be real,
And you're
we've
right,
got-
it's not a waste. That's
Yeah.
the wrong way to look at it.
True, but it's like, the really interesting thing I've noticed, I think only maybe like 3 people have left the chat at this point. It's like Tanner, my buddy Justin just left the chat. He's very doom and gloom anyway, so it's
And
kinda
Josh
like,
Haver, who is like literally just overwhelmed, like has so much going on. It's not that
Yeah.
he's not interested, it's
Yeah.
that he can't participate
You
at
just
this
doing
level of engagement yet.
yeah, that makes sense.
He needs a vehicle.
And I think
He
even
needs a
also, I
vehicle
would-
to
I
put his
would-
energy
I would
into.
say that even
Yeah.
the people that are putting up protests or arguing with the points that you're making, that's all good energy
Oh, it's
too.
great.
In other words,
Mhm.
it's like you're finding out what has worked for certain people and what has worked for others, and then then it gives you the ability to recognize somebody's trying to actually reach out to you. Like in other
Yeah.
words, they're saying, well, I'm not really interested in all of that, but this is what I'm interested in. you see that, like you were saying before, you're pointing in the right direction.
Right.
Of where you have a connection with that particular thing, if it is growing things or, you know, healing medicine, whatever it happens to be. At least you're getting, this is positive energy, all of it, even
Right.
the negativity, even the people that are saying, oh, they're
Right.
full of shit.
Well,
I'm
that's
outta here.
that's where you use those circumstances to, continue refining the plan. So
Right.
that's like, whatever any objections anyone throws out,
All
if
good.
we don't have responses to those objections, then we discuss it with each other and we try to understand what it is that they're trying to object to. And we say, okay, well, how can we come up with a solution for the problem so that we can, present like that person might be long gone. Oh, I objected. They didn't have any good information. Fine, whatever. Okay, that's fine. But now anyone else that's coming to us to try to discuss the same things, for instance, now we got $7. Okay, instead of saying $0 to Alex, the next person that says how much money you raised, we can at least say, well, we raised fucking $7. I know that's not very much, but it's starting. It's starting, and that's the whole point. And it's like, even though it's from us or whatever, it doesn't even matter. That's like, the next steps, we're gonna start raising more.
That's how
Right.
resources happen too,
Yeah.
because it isn't necessarily matter where the resources come from.
Right.
It's that they came, you know what I'm saying? So you can. It just, and
can-
actually, it's just what I was saying before. I'll help with what I can help with,
Yeah,
and everybody, if you get everybody to say, I'll help what I can, I'll give you $1.
right.
Well,
If you got 100 people helping you, that's $100.
here's the thing, we can take one of these dollars down to the library and print 7 copies of that signature sheet and go out and
There
raise
you go. You just
$500.
Right,
Right.
right.
Right, just started the thing off, that's all you really.
I
needed
definitely
was-
really like, I think that is a huge thing. So there's a couple things. So I do want to do the Facebook groups. I do want to do door-to-door canvassing and really just speaking with people
Okay,
about the
something.
ideas.
Mhm.
Before you do the Facebook group, before you do the door to door, you need a Facebook page or something. Because people are just like, oh, you
Well,
want me to
that's what
join a chat
I
on
guess
Facebook? Like,
that's what I meant.
okay,
So
where's
I
the
like what
substance for
you said
this?
about
Facebook
about the
page,
tree.
that's
too,
where I'm
like,
making
you know,
I'm
the tree that connects them all.
connecting the two, but
Because
there's.
I didn't even hear about that before you told me about it. I like that idea.
Thank
It's
you.
like, you have like
Before
a
you do
splash
that stuff,
page.
you
or-
need-
For us to get.
Yeah,
You gotta have a
When
website.
when I'm
Right
saying,
now,
You gotta have a website, right?
I think
A website is helpful, but you don't need that initially. You can start with just Facebook, social medias, and eventually then
It's
build
an
it.
easy way to make it.
actually.
You could
I
even just use
like-
Milkshake
I
though.
don't know if it really
to make,
matters
like,
that
a-
much, but there's all these
your own
other.
website. I don't- have you used
extensions other
Milkshake?
than org.
It's like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
free
yeah.
hosting,
That's
free
stuff like
website.
that.
Like I use.
Like, it's like superpower.
Nice stuff.
Like, you can just connect it to the Facebook page, so people are like,
So
where's your
we'll come up with
website?
something
Oh,
else
here's
that
our
would be kinda
website.
cool.
Yeah, like.
It doesn't have to be huge
Something
to,
like that,
have
yeah.
something.
Communitopia
Nice.
humanity, I like
Yeah, you
that.
guys
you can
need
do
something,
that.
because, listen,
Almost
even,
anything.
even as it sits right now, I want to share the stuff on my Facebook, right? Like the post you just made, or having this meeting, like, okay, I can share that, but then people are like, what is this? Like, what's going on? What is, they go and search it up and nothing comes up.
Well,
on Facebook.
that's kind of the beauty of it too, though,
So-
in a sense, because it is just a small seed that has just sprouted, and like, I would like people to hear about it and be like, wait, what is this? Like, and then they see it again later, and they see something new, and then they see something new, and they're like, oh, something here is growing. But I highly agree. The thing that I was the
So that's
mystic.
like throwing a casting fish line without any bait on it.
Right.
Just being like, okay, let's see what happens.
Well, right. I mean, and
You need the bait on it.
yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't argue that, I wouldn't, yeah, no, I think you're right. Having something that people, is like, people can search Primerica and find the website, find reviews, find
Sure.
things, they know it exists somewhere.
Right.
They know people have experienced this.
Yeah, they also have 30 years. Like,
Yeah, they have,
Well,
their
and-
grandma did it at some point.
And that's what I mean too, and that's what I mean too, like, like what Alex was concerned about, Alex is concerned about
How long has the been around?
47 years.
47.
Yeah, 47. So, but that's the thing, right now, like, I'm not necessarily concerned about that. It is the next steps, but we're not really, we are like just at this beginning point where we're formulating the ideas, and we don't have the structure yet set up that we want to present because we're still discussing it, right? So I'm not trying to necessarily Like,
I
it's like
think
we
it's
don't need
okay
to
if
rush
we-
anything.
I think it's okay if we
But-
put that face out there that
I
we're
think,
like,
I think we
we're
are.
not done, we're not finished.
I
yet.
agree,
We're
we are
we're still-
now ready to
Mhm.
start doing that. I
Mhm.
think, and I highly agree with you, the thing that I was making the mistake of, and this just shows how much I know social media, which is not actually that much. The difference between a page and a group, in my mind, I'm thinking group is a page, but it's not.
I kind
I
of.
understand the
That's the thing I wanted to ask you
Right,
guys
so
about.
this
Do
is
you-
second.
Do you want to do a Facebook page where people can add this thing as a friend, just like a regular page, like it's
No,
not
it's
gonna be
friends.
personal, it'll still be business?
Mhm.
Or do you want to make a Facebook page where they either have to like or follow? Personally, I love the add friend thing.
I think
Yeah.
that's probably
Like,
better.
I think it
Pages,
is too.
I like
It's a
them
more
and there's like
right?
benefits, but the add friend thing
It's-
just feels more personal.
So then
it's-
the
and
page
it's
is
like,
gonna be a
If
friend.
we build a
friend
page, it's gonna be like
can-
more pay to play, like,
You can make like a personal page where people add the friend and it's called Communitopia. And then you can also make a page on that Facebook, like separate.
I see,
So you
yeah,
can have both.
yeah,
But you
yeah,
can start it out with just like the add a friend.
Right,
and then-
because I think eventually you
information
should make
on
it
there.
into a page that's actually
So
the
that
real.
everyone can
Sure.
just follow.
say
And
the
then
where a
business
million,
stuff
where a
on
million people can follow,
Right.
as opposed to a friend that you can only have 5,000 friends.
You can turn it into professional
sure.
mode and you can surpass that.
Cool.
And also another
Personality,
thing,
yeah.
with the groups, you can, if you make a page, you can have multiple admins where whenever you make the first initial Facebook personal page, like
Mhm.
just where you add friends, that's one person running it unless like multiple people have the logins. And I'm not sure how multiple people logged in on the same Facebook on different devices
How it
will
works,
work.
yeah.
'Cause I've never done that.
But that's fine, we
But
can
I
ask
know-
people who can do it, but we just have somebody who's mainly dealing with the whole process.
I know on the Facebook, like groups, you can have multiple admins.
I think my
And
mom
then
raised her
lots of people
hand.
can-
Oh, she did raise her hand.
Lots of people can like make different posts and add
Mama,
different things.
Mama Bear wants to
Okay,
come
that makes
in.
sense. What's up, mom?
Oh, that was like a long time ago.
Well, we just saw
I
it.
was gonna tell you that y'all need to have a talking stick or something, because when you're all talking at the same time, you can't figure out who's saying what about what.
Yeah, okay,
You're
that's
right.
fair, that's fair. So we just have to design a
Rules
better
for meeting.
rules for meeting.
Especially if you have, quite a few people. And I can tell most of you have very strong opinions
How did you
and
know?
like to talk. You know who I'm talking about?
No, who are you talking about?
What?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be talking about, we have no idea.
Well, she does know you pretty well, Dad.
The 28
Um,
that's-
what was the
you're-
other?
You're totally
The
right.
other thing I
Mhm.
wanted to clarify, am I talking?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I
Can't hear
wanted to
you.
clarify what you were saying before about going door to door. Stop laughing at me.
We're not
Going
laughing.
door to
That's what I
door.
can't hear.
We're
I don't
laughing
like
at
that idea.
ourselves.
Gotta make it
I don't like that idea.
Going
What
door
did
to
you mean
door.
by, yeah, what did you mean by going door to door?
You have experience. with
yeah,
that,
so
and
this is what Glitz has done for quite some time. Let's explain to you.
Yeah, so my background is in political organizing, with a lot of my experience coming through door-to-door fundraising. And I have a lot of experience training canvassers on the street as well, just teaching people to interact with strangers and introduce them to the concept and ask them to support it. And I can teach that about any aspect of what we're doing, not just the overarching goal, but
So, and even a
Individual
concept of the
campaigns.
door to door, right? It's not even necessarily like, that's kind of like a misnomer anyway, because it doesn't mean that we have to go to doors. We can set up like a booth or whatever and have people coming by and we'll explain things to them and try to raise funds.
St. Pete is kind of a great place to do that.
Yeah. It
I,
is.
I get, her concerns with the door to door thing, but I also understand that like some people like that. Some people
Right.
will like it and some people will not.
Right.
And like, you're in it for the people who do like it and for the people who don't. don't, you're just like, okay, bye.
Yeah, if they slam the door in our face, it's whatever,
Yeah.
like, I'm
But
not.
there will be some people who do respond well to it, and it's important to access like different things, like different ways.
And it,
I think you guys in this community of St. Pete
Yeah.
are, it's like way different than any place I've
Sure.
ever actually
it's
lived.
primed, yeah,
Because it's like people are ready to help you out, and people out there
right.
that are accepting and communicating and doing all the stuff that you can use that method.
And they're waiting for something
one
like
of
this.
them.
And
Right.
since you already have experience doing like door to door, like that's good.
I can really,
I think that you're on the right track. And of course, St. Pete is different than probably every place else I've ever lived. You might want to tell the story about politician go away.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, that's fine though, too, and that's the thing, like, so the story of politician go away, my mom and I, when I was young, whenever somebody would come to the door, you know, trying to canvass or trying to, you know, sell something or whatever, my mom and I would go and hide under the blankets and we'd just be like, politician go away, politician go away. Eventually they go away from the door. But that's also like, that's the thing. So it's cute and it's funny. At the same time, that's also sort of like this built into like this fear culture of like, oh, what's this person going to try to sell me? What are they going to try to do? We're not trying to interact with those people anyway. I don't need them to interact with me. If it's like, you know, 10 seconds of standing in front of a door and they don't answer and we can move on, we're looking for the people who open the door, who are willing to listen for even just a minute. And if they, and basically we could say immediately, like, you know, if this isn't of interest to you, then, you know, no worries, we can just stop this. But if you're interested in the concepts of coming up with a better way of living and trying to save humanity, essentially, you know, like doing what we can as a team to, you know, fix some of these major issues that we all know are issues in the world, you know, then if so that can catch some people's attention. They go, oh, okay, well, what is it? You're not trying to sell me anything. Like, no, we're trying to build something and we want you to be a part of it. And if you want to be a part of it, then we can figure out a way to get you integrated into that. So it's also, it's not just raising money, it's networking, it's, you know, even if they don't like it, they're like, oh, but my, you know, my sister, she's out in there and she's building, you know, food forests herself. Like, maybe I can connect you with her. Like, I don't care because I'm just, you know, a simple, you know, dock worker or whatever the hell, you know, it's like, so, you know, and then, but those people can be involved as well to whatever extent. And so we try to create this, really it's the presentation that it comes down to and the way that we interact with people. It's friendly and it's like trying to just like express like our deepest passions and desires for how we can make some progress in the world. I think people will be connected with those ideas, and even if we are on the streets with a
They will.
table, like people are gonna be like stopping and seeing if we have a good enough presentation. They're gonna be like, you know, what is this? This isn't like a normal thing that I'm seeing. This isn't just like, oh, someone's raising funds for like a children's hospital. This isn't someone who's like, you know, just trying to like just like feed the homeless. It's like we're like doing a much bigger kind of idea.
and even people who are familiar with fundraising, familiar with being asked for things, a lot of those people can, you know, they really appreciate someone coming to their door to give them a chance to do something good for the world. You know, I definitely understand people who don't like the door to door, you know, I'm coming to your door, knocking on your door. Like, that's cool. We don't need to talk to those people. That if they say, leave us alone, we're gonna leave them alone. You know? So it's like,
Yeah.
So what about doing something like having a flyer or whatever, some sort of informational pamphlet, and say, if you're interested, then contact us at whatever, put your web page or Facebook page or whatever it is that you decide to make up, and then they can contact you. But at the same time, you can do what you're saying. I'm just saying as another means of spreading the
definitely-
word.
we definitely need to have something to leave behind for people we don't talk to.
Exactly. Yes.
Carrington was
So
gonna say something.
I'm just gonna call this mission saturation. So one of the things that we're gonna do, especially within St. Pete, is really get in front of people. One of the ways that can be really effective is where we are right now. We have an outdoor space that's severely underutilized and one really needs to kind of connect. But like what we're doing is I have a coffee company and I give out sample cold brew, and that can also be a way to kind of bring people in and talk about so the every during the weekend, table. You know, Saturday or Sunday, whatever day kind of works for everybody, like supplies, that way, get hours, maximize 3 or 4 hour window, and talk to people about coffee, also.
So just like an informational sort of.
Yeah.
Fair approach.
I like that. So,
Saturday, pop-up.
And we could be
like you
inviting
see,
people to that experience when we go door to door. That could be like, we could have timely flyers that we are handing out that are not just like, here's how we're spending our money, and then we print
Right.
it once a year, and then like, no, like we are actually just distributing information, inviting people to events, and
I like that, and that also kind of goes into like, I would like to set up a second meeting each week, one in the morning and one more in like the afternoon. It would actually probably be really good on the weekend, because that's when, you know, hopefully more people are available, and that might be when people can start. Because a lot of people just don't wake up early enough. They don't care to like, you know, it's like, you know, but once they see a second one going on, that's available to them. They, oh well, that one I can make, you know, and then and we can kind of group that in. We could have like a meeting, and then I could lead basically into the pop-up, so we could even share some of the ideas that were at the meeting. You know, like people, like, it's like good to see what the developments are, and people who consistently come to these, you know, they'll start to show up and realize there are actually things happening. Which definitely brings into the next step, which I think really, sooner rather than later, I think one of the main components, and maybe even before the whole structure is even set up properly, we can start getting something of any nature at all done. Even if it's just literally growing a garden somewhere, at least something's done, and we have a
Of course.
picture of something that can, like, that's happened. And like, you know, and it's like, and there's a few, even just a couple people who want to participate in the thing. And so it's really like what we could do basically as we're presenting it, is saying, well, our very first project, or even we don't even have to name it as the first even, but basically our project that we're working on at the moment is growing a garden in this yard, basically. And then we're
I
gonna
think
start
that would be-
distributing
That is
that.
actually a really good idea,
I think-
because if it shows something in the actual physical world where
It
it's
has to
not
be.
all conceptual,
Right,
you have to have something that actually, that's what I was talking about with the bowl in the middle of the table. Seriously,
yeah,
that bowl represents more than you can imagine,
Yeah.
because it's the beginning of something. You made the effort to actually.
It's a vehicle.
Put
Yeah, it's a
something there and say, this is where we're starting, right here.
Right.
And a seed was the other really good.
yeah,
We talked about mycelium network before, but a seed is a really good way to
Analogy.
demonstrate
Yeah.
analogy of it, where if you're in the germinating stage right now, you just put out your root, you started to put out your first leaves, or whatever you call those first couple of leaves.
yeah,
route.
You know, if that's what you are, then that's what you are, and see it as it is. Don't
Yeah.
don't try to say, well, we already got this big thing already established and we're good, you know, don't even go there, because then everyone's gonna be like, well, what do you need me for then? You know what I mean? You don't,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
wanna make it like so that it's end.
right.
Never ends.
Foundation. That, yeah, that's progress. That, especially because right now, we don't have an ever better for worse.
Mhm.
Right.
That's true.
I'll be for better right now.
Yeah, definitely for better.
So then when you said that about even if it's like a 4 foot by 4 foot garden patch,
Right,
that is actually a really good analogy of the whole thing, the way to start, because you started.
you have to start somewhere.
I think it's great if we plug into something that already exists too. Like if we get together and we go volunteer at the 15th Street Farm, where there's already a garden
Yeah,
and there's already people doing things. It's like, yeah, we're not just here to like take the credit and
Right,
build
right,
our
right.
own thing. Like we're happy to participate in other
Right.
people's projects as
It is
well.
good.
I wonder what the legalities are behind going around and like guerrilla planting like fruit trees and on public property. Like,
One of the things
like
that
parks
I
and
thought
stuff.
of right away, though, one of the things I
You
thought
get
of
away
right
with
away,
that?
that
It's just like.
That's fine though, we don't even necessarily need to.
well, then also you have to have somebody come back. And take care
No,
of it,
not
because,
necessarily,
you know,
not
it's like,
necessarily.
it's like, so you
Native
first,
plants don't need as much care as other plants.
If you
Right,
get a
that fruit
good,
tree,
if you get a good
pretty sure
established fruit
needs-
tree already
Even
though,
with flower bomb.
I mean,
Yeah.
orange trees go
Yeah,
pretty well around here.
That's, yeah, you get it set up, you could put some, you could do like a hugelkultur technique essentially of like putting like some rotten wood under there and kind of like making sure there's a store of water space that can basically saturate and then that thing will burst up quick.
But I guess the other part of that, or one of the things that you should consider is that you don't go for the place that's like downtown St. Pete
A little,
on the
a little
waterfront. You know what I
like
mean? You
less
go-
obvious.
Yeah,
you
why-
go to a place
why,
where it's public land, but it's not like down by your,
Unincorporated place.
down by
Yeah.
your, where the,
Oh,
sorry, where the, disc golf is.
yeah,
Down
yeah,
in
yeah.
that park there,
Yeah,
like
that's
off to the
true.
side near the highway or whatever, you
Yeah.
can get away with it probably.
Why
Yeah.
not,
Keep going
why
back
not,
there and take their drink water and stuff.
and why not focus on owned land where we know that
Well, we
the,
could do that too. I
percentage.
think that there's an interesting purpose behind the public land aspect because then like it creates this critical mass essentially at a certain point on public land all across St. Pete. There could be fruit trees growing everywhere that like literally infinite mangoes that anyone walking around could just find a mango tree within like, a few minute walk. That'd be pretty cool. That'd make like a pretty big impact. Like suddenly all these mangoes and oranges are everywhere and we're just like, everyone's like, where's all these fruit trees coming from? Well, it's Communitopia going around and planting.
It's funny,
We
because
can
in
go,
Haiti, that's how it was, like, so you
Yeah.
could get many mangoes if you wanted. So they didn't have a problem with chickens running all around, and they could just grab a chicken and eat it after. Because everyone knew that that was like public property, they didn't have infrastructure at all. They had garbage everywhere and everything, but in Haiti, you can go to any mango tree you can find, climb up it, take the mangoes off and eat
right,
them.
right.
So they didn't have an issue with food, but then as far as sanitation goes,
Yeah.
like some of those mangoes could have lots of bacteria on them, stuff like that, so.
Well, so
but
developing
what
the
you're saying
food
is true.
distribution network from private property is probably a good bet. But then also creating the abundance on public property will supplement that. And that'll be like helpful to even like the homeless and stuff. Like they'll know where
Yeah.
to go. and We'll make sure that,
It's actually a
you know, it's
political
just
statement
available.
as well,
That's
because
what
you're
it's
saying, well, this land is our land, this land
Yeah.
is public land, this
Yeah.
land is, what, you know,
yeah,
so as long as you're not calling the news up and saying, we're gonna plant this tree here today.
right.
then it's terrorism.
Right,
Right.
right, exactly. That's a craziness.
That's a invasive species. that you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
planted.
exactly. Interesting.
We are Communitopia. We claim responsibility for local tree planting.
Well, it's like my buddy Kenny did, who's living out at the ranch right now, but he behind Movement Sanctuary, behind like right between the nook of the highway over there, he created a whole food forest. He wasn't really like legally allowed to do that. But like who's going back there? He's like established it now. Like, it's gonna take money and effort to clear that out. Who's gonna be doing that? Like, I mean, maybe the government eventually be like, we gotta clear this.
We
space
don't
for
want
whatever
this
reason.
food
Right,
here.
exactly, which they might do that, but the truth is too, if we can keep up faster, if we plant enough to like basically take it over, so that they can't even make the efforts to go through and make sure to remove all these
It would
established
be like
mango trees.
removing invasive species.
They can, eventually it's just going,
It's gonna cost them too much.
Too much money.
We have to get away from kind of like black mass environmentalism, at least for a bit, because like kind of vigilantism, like it's definitely could set us back pretty severely at early stages. But yeah, private being focused. But
Yeah,
I
private focus.
putting a kind of protocol in place for among like leadership of a food area is like at all times where more of us sign off on it, like prevent any kind of missteps because like the bad press, just
Practices
They will
everything.
try, yeah, they'll try to basically figure out a way to turn it around on us So maybe that is, maybe we just go through the legal steps and processes of like, just speaking to whoever is necessary to say, can we establish a community garden here?
I think it's a great idea to push the issue in a legal way, like,
Well, I agree.
and to
Everything
get
should
legal
be-
permission to
Right,
plant on public
right.
land.
That's why I asked initially, what are the legalities behind it? So then, basically, like, like, what could they do legally? What is their recourse, right?
Yeah,
Can they arrest
I think
us?
it's an instance,
And-
I mean, I think going to city council is a great idea.
Aaron said too, it's very obviously poignant on that whole thing, because again, going back to at least at first, flying under the radar.
Yeah,
And I just had the notion of Banksy is his name, right? The guy
Yeah.
that goes around. Well, he didn't ask permission, and he actually made a very profitable living making art where no one else would dare to make it. And he made it, under the, let's say,
The guys,
guerrilla kind of
yeah.
art. But the truth is, when you start to talk about a community and a whole group of people doing this, people get the wrong idea and then they think, well, if they did that over there,
Yeah, one
then I'm gonna
person,
go to another piece of property and I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna be open about it. And if the cops get called, I don't care. I'm gonna say Communitopia is doing it. Why shouldn't I do that?
one person is all it
Policy
takes.
uses.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Mhm.
So you gotta be just like
Yeah.
cautious about everything they do, but especially until you become established.
well, that's the,
Because now Banksy's got
We've
all
gotta
the more he
assume
wants,
that-
it's like saying, you wait for the next one to show up, and then even the cities that he puts it in, they love it, because it
Yeah.
brings all this attention to it.
Right.
We've gotta assume that the culture that we're devising is going to be interpreted in very radical ways,
Yeah.
without us encouraging that.
right,
We're not
right.
gonna need to
Already,
encourage
right,
that.
you've already got it,
So
It's already part
it's
of
already
it.
happening.
the
right?
more we can do to make our platform very moderate.
Yeah.
Right,
As close-
Conservative.
as close as possible to
Close to the middle.
right, and that's the fun part too, because it's fitting within the structure and finding ways to like bend and stretch the structure from the inside to allow they're gonna have to allow it, because there's so many people who are participating in it. That's how we go, it's like, that's how any sort of movement and change in a paradigm actually happens, so. So yeah, I mean, I think, prepaid legal services would probably be really helpful for us. I have tons of questions for them. I definitely think, I wanna.
I think it should be almost like a requirement for our members to have like something like that, because we're not gonna be able to devote the resources of the group to protect each individual person
Right,
in that
right.
way.
Right, not yet. I think eventually we could get a critical
A
mass.
small, but you could have a small business subscription for that, but again, these are not employees,
Yeah,
so that would only protect employees of
well, they could be,
Okay.
they could be employees, but not all of them are, right? I see what you're saying. Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
community, so we gotta always be thinking about that too, in terms of levels of community participation, levels of goes the word citizenship, but there is that. It's like,
citizenship is that's that combination of responsibility and ownership.
right, and especially since you're talking about actually creating a city.
Yeah.
Cityscape. If you start talking like that, then you are talking about
Municipality.
Yeah.
right, following the guidelines sort of what acceptable bureaucratic
Process, the
thing
process.
looks
to
like,
get-
what the
yeah,
structure
yeah.
looks like, so you gotta, I guess, you're walking sort of a fine line, because
Yeah,
that Banksy, can't go back to that analogy, he doesn't have to really follow any rules, because he started out not following the rules, and he's only got himself and he is.
Right.
And then he gets all this support from the art community and from cities actually that he's enhancing,
Mhm.
so they're like all for it and proving his point.
Right.
And that's what you guys have to do, you have to prove it as a community, not as an individual.
Right.
Which is actually more complex. But you got that range behind it, and I'm only butting in so much, because this actually is probably my last meeting for a while, that I'll be able to make next week, I don't know if I'll be able to come over or not.
You're doing great.
It's fine. Yeah, thanks for all the.
So anyways.
Yeah. There will definitely be people that want to use what we're doing as a platform for their own opinions, their own political statements, to promote themselves, and we're already seeing that in the Communitopia chat on Messenger, that people see the opportunity to reach an audience and want to use that for their own gain.
But that's a good sign in the sense that they're recognizing the potential behind it. That's where it comes down to creating the vehicle for that, specifically associated with Communitopia, but also separate from what Communitopia is accomplishing. Essentially having that platform for people to be able to both discuss and promote their, like, say, businesses and their nonprofits, their ideas, things like that.
then that would be like the Facebook page, instead of like the Facebook ad.
Well, it's actually gonna be a whole separate one, actually, because I wanna have one that's like Communitopia affiliates. I want that to be segmented, like, I want that to be like, if you're in community, if you're, like, I don't want people posting on the Communitopia page, hey, like, just join my business
Come
or
down from
whatever.
the sound deal.
Right, it's like, we'll have to approve messages, right?
Mhm.
And so we'll say, no, it's like, but we do. I know,
Right.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying, so we have to make sure that that doesn't happen.
They do, there is a check mark there that they have to
But we say, go over here for that. We have a thing for
go
that.
over that.
And
Go
even,
over here for
and
that.
there's still gonna be like a selection process for what gets approved in
Absolutely.
the affiliates page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's also very important. Damn, that looks fucking fire.
Oof.
I got, I got.
Party-
try to sip
party
that
cup,
one.
baby.
Party cup, baby. Okay. Good. So yeah, so I think that's critical too, because it's been happening a little on the group chat, which is fine, which is why we split it off into the leadership chat. I think that's a really good thing that happened, that we have reached that mass that allows us to now separate out the people who are really trying to build a thing and just a whole bunch of people who are interested in it. So it's like an extra layer. And I've talked with Blitz about it, and I'll say it on the, on the Zoom meeting and everything, like, it's time that anybody else who wants to be a part of the leadership process will be undergoing an interview. In fact, I'm not even, I've kind of,
I think everyone should have an interview. I don't
They
think we
should.
should be putting anyone into the group, into the messenger chat anymore if they haven't seen the plan, if they don't.
that's what I mean though, that's what I mean, well, everyone that I put into the group, I describe to them
That's great, but they
the
don't,
chat.
there's a difference between having a gist of the idea and seeing the plan.
I want there to be there to be layers. I want it to be so that, like, we can have a group with thousands and thousands and thousands of people in it, that you add the person, oh, you're interested in community building as well, we've got a group of people interested in community building. We can just leave that be, and let people discuss their own thing or whatever. It's good to see.
I agree,
the
and I
number of
disagree
people.
like, I see why you would say that, but I also feel like there's this, we're opening this gate, right? We're
Yeah.
opening this portal, and if we just put people, if we let anyone come through the portal, then they're here in this delicate ecosystem where we're trying to cultivate this, like recruiting ground.
Right.
And if they don't understand what the plan is, if they have they think they know,
So how,
people who think they know are actually a danger to what we're doing, because they're going to come in and they're going to change the energy.
so the first gate is still a discussion with them and like an interview about their interests. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying just
Right,
throw
and I
everyone in there.
I gotta throw something in now because, so if Primera is a requirement of being part of this thing, then I think
No.
it's missing its point, like, so,
Yeah, it's not.
right,
No,
and
yeah,
that's
no,
what you're
that's-
saying, what you're saying is if they're interested in that type of thing, then we have a vehicle or an avenue towards that,
Mhm.
but
I think
I really think that this, again, is it might be go totally against what you're saying, but
okay.
whenever there's an atmosphere of fear, of a want, or of saying that this is gonna take away from what we're doing, that's an attitude of scarcity rather than abundance. Even those little things, like when you're saying, if this person comes in and starts to try to eat us alive from the inside, that person will find his way out the door. I can almost guarantee that, because they can't stay in an environment that isn't accepting of what they're trying to sell you or what they're trying to take from you.
I think that
actually-
exactly
Take care of itself.
is exactly what I'm trying to say. That if we create this culture of people that aren't aligned with what we're doing, we're not helping
Well,
Communitopia.
why are you continuing to feel as though the people we're bringing into the chat are not aligned?
I'm
We're
not-
still
I'm not
talking
saying
to them
that.
about it.
I'm not
you know?
saying that's what's happening.
Yeah, no, but I
I'm-
mean, even in the future, like that's what I'm saying. What I'm coming up with a structure
Mhm.
where the people who are in the chat are still aligned behind the ideas. It doesn't mean they're leadership. It doesn't mean that they're ready to start building and doing the thing, but they're interested in it and having a place. Where else? Where else are we going to put them? Somebody says they're interested, and we say, okay, well now you got to go through step A, B, C, D. Then you'll be allowed to start getting some of the information. Like, no, let's throw them into a thing that allows them to start seeing the information visually and seeing the people who are behind it, who are contributing to it.
it
And
goes
it's a
back to
whole
what you
nother
said at
layer.
the last meeting, inclusivity over exclusivity,
Right.
because inclusivity says that, wherever you come from, wherever you're at right now in this moment, that's the only place anybody can start. Every
Mhm.
single fucking day of our lives, we start in this moment where we're at right now, financially, spiritually, physically, if we have, disabilities and things. So if you start excluding people by
Right.
saying, oh, you're not fully on board with what we're saying here, then all that potential that you've lost isn't worth it. It isn't worth the actual effort to exclude those people.
Think
Yeah,
about it.
so
Think about it the way
I-
America does it. We just accept everyone.
Exactly.
We accept everyone and we let them leave if it doesn't work because we've set up a system that doesn't allow them to really stay because they have to actually contribute effort.
But there's not really a place for people who are not really on board.
Well, that's what I
There's
mean.
no.
They're
there's-
not going to find their way there in the first place because we mentioned the thing and they don't have any sort of
But
interest
they already
in it.
are. There are people in the messenger chat right now who see what we're doing and disagree and are trying to take the energy and divert it
Who
into
are we talking
their
about?
idea. I mean,
Give me an example.
just Alex yesterday.
So he
trying to
is
divert,
behind the idea
trying to divert
community
energy
building.
into other forms of
Yeah. He just
um,
doesn't think
structure.
he
for
just
the-
doesn't think that the structure that we're building is effective. Like he's still behind in the line behind the ideas of creating community spaces.
That's my
So
point.
he's got things to
Everybody
offer
who-
to the conversation. It's not that he's like destroying the thing from the inside out, and that he's like that we should just say, Alex, you're out of here because you're not really like that. That's the type of gatekeeping that I don't want to have because then we're just like saying, okay, well you can go over here and build your own silly little community thing. Instead, we just say, hey, like if you're on board with this idea, join it. If not, he's not going to join. He's already said specifically, I'm not going to contribute my effort toward. He's already contributing his effort because he's speaking about it. But that's what I mean too. It's like he's not going to jump into the
That's
thing
what I'm
because
saying, the
he's not ready.
dialogue, the actual argument that he's making is energy for you, not against you.
Right.
And they taught me this, and back at Brigham College too, is that even bad press is good press. And it's the same even if you were to do a guerrilla planting somewhere and then they brought you up on charges and arrested you for it. It's actually a good thing, good on you, because if you had your heart behind it, then it's the government's problem, not your problem. It's their inability to cope with you.
The people
So,
who aren't
I
ready
see,
are
I see
going
it
to
both
leave.
ways.
Yeah,
I
it
see
is.
it both ways.
And it is still, once again, like everything we're talking about, it's all compatible and we find that middle ground, delicate balance of the way that we participate and bringing people in. And I highly agree that it shouldn't just be everyone and their mother, and except my mother, of course, but, but it's gotta be like.
Wait,
it doesn't have to
I
be-
missed that. What?
I was just saying, like, I said, we can't just bring everyone and their mother in, but I mean, of course, my mother, that we can bring her in, like, but,
I'm
but
just
that's-
listening.
I know. So, but that's what I'm saying too. It's like, the people who are in that chat, there is at least a bone in their body somewhere that has an interest in community building. We have to have somewhere to put people to start that. It's like same with like in Primerica, the Telegram chat or whatever. They'll fucking, if they get overwhelmed and they leave because of the Telegram chat, then they weren't really meant to be there in the first place because they're not understanding the concept behind it. They can come back later once they start to understand those concepts and we'll be here for that, but they won't be able to participate in the process because we build the process in a way that slowly weeds out the people that won't be participating in the right ways because we'll have them once they're coming into the interview for the leadership and really wanting to participate in it. We have this whole thing, a whole spiel, and if there's disagreements along the way about our like core values and things like that, then we just say, look, like I don't think that this will be a good fit for the leadership. However, there might be other places that you could participate in the process and these different things if you desire. But
and maybe those people do make good leadership. I mean,
Well,
a
we
strong,
still-
a
We
strong,
still want them
a
to.
strong indicator of leadership is your willingness to dissent and voice your opinion
Right.
even when it's
Disagree.
unpopular. So
Right.
I'm not saying that we don't want dissent in the group. That's really
Yeah.
my point was that like everyone needs to see the plan, even if they don't like the plan. They should
I
at least
agree with
see
that,
what we do.
Which is, that was the whole point of creating the chat in the first place.
Mhm.
I say scroll to the top, take a look at the plan. This is my very generalized plan. I'm gonna be
You're
coming up
still
with a better
formulating it.
structure, but
You're
it's
not-
still
you know,
building.
it's not there
We need
yet.
a better presentation of the plan. than all of
Absolutely,
that.
absolutely, absolutely. So, but
We
those-
we talk about that
all
like
of-
on the daily.
all of those words
When are
are,
you going to do it?
I mean, we're doing it right now. We're doing it
No,
right
No,
now.
no, no.
You make
We
the
actually need to make the
presentation. Writing it
slides,
down.
make the
I
presentation.
understand. Okay, when are we gonna do it?
When are we gonna do that?
When are we gonna do it? Let's do it. Next
Let's-
week?
Let's-
Next week
yeah,
at the
let's
Communitopia
schedule a
meeting?
time.
Next week.
Let's
Do it next Wednesday.
Let's do it this weekend. Let's get together and actually make the presentation so we can have it ready for next Wednesday. And like
A day or two this weekend, I'm doing photo shoots. So I'm free with you for the rest of
we can shoot a video presenting it even.
So-
I think
And share
even
that.
before that is the mission statement. And
Absolutely.
It's gotta be really concise, it's gotta be like down to one sentence, two sentence tops, and it's gotta just basically an overview of what you got, not a specific.
There's the two steps, there's the two levels of that. We need the overview that we can present to people very easily, very like succinctly. And then we need the extremely detailed, in-depth process that we're then presenting to people who are really, those are the leadership. That's the people who really are interested in seeing all of the steps who are, and we go through it with them, we speak with them, like that's part of the leadership
They want to be
interview.
They want to be recruiting.
Right,
basically.
they wanna be the ones to also be building a team, to bring people in, they're like, I know tons of people that wanna be a part of this, and I know they wanna do this and this and this, and so we say, okay, let's start working with you on these things. And start getting you going, and we'll just like send you off, and whenever you're ready, like basically you can start kind of guiding this whole process. But yeah, it's like, there's definitely, the detailed aspect is what's also going to be helping us, raise funds from the people who are like, actually trying to contribute, say,
And you already have all the
$50,000
stuff
for a
written,
grant,
it's not
yeah.
like you don't, really do. You just have
Yeah,
to,
yeah. All the
put it
information
together
just
in a
needs
way
to be
that-
filed.
Right. needs to be
To do
presented.
this?
This is just the first couple of steps that need to come up with agreed upon what you guys want for this information. Just, this is the first steps for the social media.
Okay, this is just what we need from people.
No,
No.
to open
No.
Open
the.
it.
You need an email, you need someone's
New
phone number, we
account.
need to agree on a password, and then the social media.
I actually
you-
created an
Okay.
email for Communitopia, like maybe
That-
a few
that's
weeks
what-
ago
and
on
that's-
Gmail.
I
And
do
that's
like,
what
we
I would
should
use.
definitely create a website as well, and that's what, like, as we said, this is all developing. I don't think we're going too slow or too fast. It happens when it happens. Yes, we can start putting some attention. Maybe we finish it by this weekend. Maybe we don't finish it by this weekend. It's actually just always a work in progress anyway. But the truth is that really, like, each time we meet
It's pretty
here,
simple.
we're discussing about all the things that we need to like start putting into the whole.
Our whole presentation right now is one page. Like
Yeah,
we
I
can
mean, yeah.
literally just add a half a page to explain how Communitopia factors into that.
Oh, you're talking about the
blue page.
the Primerica.
Yeah,
one.
the blue
yeah.
page.
Right,
So like,
right.
literally, we just need a mission and like.
Yeah.
An
I mean, yeah.
explanation of how new we are
Right,
and how this is a GPS for your community.
Right, I feel that. And yeah, we're trying to create a roadmap for how other people can also build community spaces and how we can get them kickstarted as well. A huge part of Communitopia is like, literally recruiting city leaders, and like really try at people who have their own particular ideas.
Community needs analysis.
Right. Community needs analysis. I like that. I'll write that down. It's like, so yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. It's
Or
like,
how community works principles.
we gotta do the thing, of course, but we have been, Liz and I have been talking tons about all this stuff. It's all connected. It's still all built into the Primerica business because it's like, it's not like anyone's required to participate in any of the financial aspects. But it's like, yeah, like people get their financial situation in order. Now they have time and energy to be able to start putting into Communitopia because that's what they want. They don't want to be doing that bullshit. We're already assuming that because if they're not doing bullshit, they're doing the shit that they love doing. Then let's figure out how to channel that into a way that they can be better off in their life, that they can be paid for perhaps as an employee of the nonprofit.
This would be an amazing lead source for them to bring energy into their business and have a reciprocal relationship with a community of people that want to see small businesses.
Right. So I think that is really what it is. It's like, and that's where we connected with Communitopia affiliates. We start to they see that there is potential for them individually to accomplish their dreams. I don't want to take someone away that's like the only thing that they love to do is fire performing, and they just can't. That's the only thing they want to do. Like, I don't want to try to convince them that oh, well, you should do finances.
No.
If you have any sort of bone in your body that might be interested in finances, we've got a fucking route for you for sure. But it's I want to encourage those people to figure out how to build their business and then take their money and invest it properly.
Here's the thing, yeah. Here's the thing: is you don't need to become a financial professional to benefit from the education that we're offering.
That's the truth.
Everybody can get this financial education and then have it forever, and no one will ever take it away from you.
Right.
And that's just gonna make our community more resilient. It's gonna allow individuals to succeed without needing financial advice. They're just gonna be in a better position for life, for their family, to create the kind of generational wealth that they probably don't even think is possible.
Right.
And they never have to offer financial advice to a single soul to benefit from getting this education.
I agree with that.
And again, I'll play the devil's advocate again on that, because what you guys have or what your community has that a lot of other social networks don't have. You have a lot of people that are actually disillusioned by money. And so they're looking for another way, another system to actually rely on. That you're talking about permaculture and all these other avenues to get there. And the financial aspect of the US dollar won't have any value to it all. And they won't want to even talk about that. And I see that what Alex is actually was dealing with when he was giving me that argument, is that he's been disillusioned by the whole system.
Right.
And so you could tap into that very thing in your community.
Yeah.
And say that this is another route. You have this one to offer. You can talk about your finance, about investing your money and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Dollars.
Right.
And then we also have this other route where you go and you say, well, if you're not interested in that, then are you interested in growing your own food? Are you interested in raising your own animals?
That's what we've been doing that's what we've been doing in our presentation.
So that's what's
essentially
beautiful
we
about
have all of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the
basically, one thing that I saw for quite a while is just abstraction and idealism. It's gonna sit we don't need, we have an abundance. We need people who can confidently wake up on time, confidently attend meetings, confidently sit at the desk.
Remain accountable.
And do that while still drinking.
I'm a lifelong dreamer.
Dreamers and doers.
There's no reason to try and make somebody reform, rebrand, into a desk worker. We see that example of
it's a waste of energy.
Jihad, right? The brave warriors took back Afghanistan, now absolutely the desk job. Right. That's not a uniquely Western phenomenon.
It's because it's
people that have the ability to basically play turf at the partitions, but the free form space, it's rudimentary space, having
it's just because of this thing.
more rigid, more defined, more structured. Yeah, because converting people.
But then there's also, there's this whole thing about dreamers that is actually a conditioned belief and minds of modern civilization has made it so that the dreamer is almost embarrassed to be a dreamer. So what ends up happening is you've got all these people that are sort of ashamed of the fact that they don't want to follow the system the way that it is, including people probably like Einstein. I mean, I don't think Einstein ever thought about, hey, am I doing it the way that they think I should be doing it? Yeah. And Nikolai Tesla, do you think he thought about, am I doing this the way they want me to do this? Or am I just following my passion?
This would help those people end up like, right.
Right, because of the system told you that, they told them that they're not doing it. And so, there's all that, but then, you know, it's been so many dreamers that have been destroyed in the end. But there's also been beautiful dreamers that actually, so, for instance, Jesus Christ and Martin Luther King and any others that you, John Lennon, anybody else you want to talk about, has been super impact, has great impact on the world. But yet they were destroyed by the system in the end because, again, they weren't flying above the radar and people started taking note. And they said, we're gonna wipe this guy out, we're gonna take him out. It's causing too much.
I don't like these leaders, like.
That's why I said builders, Chad.
Yeah,
builders
the
is
builders,
Architects.
because we're building something that is going to exist for basic proliferation, stability of others, like,
Right.
not around another mess.
Yeah, even leadership is a whole other keyword that's sort of been way overused and really half of the leaders in the world probably really need that.
We don't want to build the giant shiny neon rainbow bullet for blips.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
That's how that goes.
Like that, yeah, and you know, and that's the thing too, with like we said, like decentralized means, like, it's like, once you get a community with, you know, hundreds and hundreds of leaders who are all leading each other in these various ways, and then bringing in these people who like feel like they're babies, they don't understand anything, they don't know how to be involved, and it's like, that's the rest of like society that hasn't tapped into like what we can do as community yet. They like come in like the same way with Primerica. They come in like wide-eyed, like, what the fuck is going on here? This is
Why am I
weird. Like,
here? That was
what's
the last
happening?
thing.
Right? Why am I here? Right? But it's like, well, you gotta kind of like guide them into this process to understand that they are a leader that can, you know, that can accomplish things. But it's like, you know, and I'm using the term leader because then you have this whole community of hundreds and hundreds of leaders. And now it's so decentralized. There's no person that they can point to and say, take him down. He's the cult leader,
It's
you know, like,
it's too much at that point.
right. Well, what do you mean? What is too much?
It's trying to take out any.
Oh,
the
right,
movement-
exactly.
The
It's-
movement,
movement's already there.
the movement has a vehicle that cannot be stopped.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, and I think that's like a critical aspect of how we can start to refine the recruits into the leadership, into the builders really, and then we can, and then those are the people that we're gonna hold accountable to actually doing something. So then that's where we say, we have these vehicles for you to participate in these various ways. What is it that you want to do? What do you want to do with your time?
Mhm.
Like, you know, we come in, we can make any sort of time commitment. You want to do 10 hours a week? Okay, we got to give them something to do for those 10 hours. We got to have a mentor that can help them learn how to do it, you know?
Speaking of time, how you doing with time?
I mean, it's fine. I don't have any meeting or anything.
Yeah.
I thought you did.
No, so we just get to be out of here by 11:30 when these close down, so.
I have
I mean, this is the
Eleven-
I have an
general outline
11:30.
for the social media.
Okay, sweet, awesome. That looks great. So socials, make website, make presentation, make a link tree, start posting. Then a page can add different groups based on
Facebook
food,
page, make the
finance, housing.
Facebook page first, and then this will come later, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
wanted to put
Yeah,
that
that's
there.
when it kind of fragments out a little
This
bit.
will just be the initial thing, and then later on you can separate it with these different things.
Right. I like it. I
By
mean,
having
that's a good
groups.
tree. Seems like a pyramid right there.
You just made a pyramid.
Well, it's like, that's the joke of it all. It's like everything, you know, you see, you start like structuring it out, and then you're like building all these pyramids, and then everyone starts to see that it's all really just this giant pyramid. So like, let's start using that concept to our advantage instead of being so
I
scared of
like
it.
your idea about turning the pyramid upside
And
down.
that's really what it is, you know. It's like it's a distribution network,
And
right?
actually, if it is pyramid on top of another pyramid upside down.
Well, there's two different ways. It can be on the point or, yeah, the hourglass, right.
It's very indicative or poignant to all the stuff that you're trying to do. Because it's like, you don't wanna work within the system completely. So say in the middle of this system is at the middle of those points. Say it's a
Right.
flat line in the middle.
Yeah,
You wanna do something extraordinary above it, and you also wanna be able to work with what's below it.
the land of familiar and the land of unfamiliar.
There you go.
So
dance thing, what really
Right.
was, what powerful.
I was, yeah,
Even as simple as it was, it's very powerful.
yeah, yeah.
If you could pick out all those personalities too, that he was talking about, the bullies, the border bullies, there you go.
Yeah, more police.
You can pick them out in your life and see them all the time,
Yeah.
they're always there, and they're
Yeah.
always, and you gotta deal with those
It's
people.
an energetic.
And it's learning to actually, like you said last night, Chris, transmute that energy into something that you can, that's a value to you.
Well,
You can use.
the way that we respond to those people will have them responding in a particular way. I truly feel as those people, like, there's a certain point, like, for instance, like, say the alarmist, right?
Mm.
There's a certain point at which the alarmist can get shut down because clearly they didn't need to be alarmed in the first place. As many times that happens, as many times as it takes, there's 100 times that this person keeps getting shut down. Eventually, they're gonna see, why do I keep being so alarmed when all these things keep working and I'm not doing the things that I'm alarmed about and it could work?
We all
And
have
so-
that energy
Right,
at some level, and that's why those people are effective at bringing people back from the wasteland into the area that's familiar.
Right.
Because we have that alarmism in ourselves.
Right.
We can be convinced
right.
by it to.
And it's also raising your frequency, and I, all these keywords or whatever you want to call them, or catchphrases or whatever. Like, when you raise your frequency, everyone else is raising with it, even if you're just in short contact with them. You are raising their frequency, if you're up here and they're down here, you can raise them up.
Well, like an alarmist is fearful. If you respond with fear to them,
And that's
then
that's a low vibration.
they've won, and now they feel justified in their alarm. If you can casually just be like, oh, I understand that you're afraid of that, but I'm not, and then you just keep going forward, and then they have to see the example of why. Because the whole time, they're still gonna be sitting there being like, oh, risky, until the point that you're successful. And then they go, oh, well, like the dude said, like, well, where's that $1 million? It's like, once Dan gets $1 million, then the guy comes, well, where's your $1 million? I got it now.
That's
Right
the-
here.
Right here.
That's the antagonist part.
Sure it was, I know,
That is
I know.
your base.
It's all fear.
They're all fear based,
It's all
right?
fear-based, yeah, everything is. So it's like, and that's what it all comes down to, is like, you see people who are limiting themselves from these fears, they don't even want that pointed out to them, so they respond poorly to it.
I
So
think
again,
that's
that's
part
what
of that's part of the objection of going door to door, is kind of that alarmist, fear based kind of way
Right,
of
because,
looking at
right,
what are people gonna say?
and what if
What's
they
gonna
slam the
happen?
door in our
What if they
faces,
don't like it?
it's like, it's fine, because, that's not really what we're looking for anyway. It's like, we're not looking for people who are close the door type of people.
And
I'm not really like that anymore. I do answer the door to salespeople, and I just say, I'm not interested, but I appreciate you coming through, and I hope you have a great day, and, and they just smile at me and they go away, it's like.
I would love to, if we have like this chat that is like between leadership and the entry, where it's like the wasteland, where like people have left familiar, but they're not ready to commit to being a leader. Yeah, being a leader yet.
And I agree with that. That's all the different layers.
I think we're
It's a
all there all the
hierarchy,
time.
But it's like, it's a hierarchy that anyone can shift and flow based on their own.
Just the training, it's not even hierarchy, it's
I
just
know.
our training,
Right.
the way we train people to
Yeah,
be ready
It's
to run.
it's
to run
moving
with the
through the
plan.
layers so that they're being trained up properly to participate in it. Straight from scratch, we're talking about a person who's coming from, say, an office job, who has never even thought of the concepts of building community before. The only thing they think is, I need to get a house for my family. And then you start to present them with concepts, and if they have any interest at all, you have to have a place to put them. If they say, nah, I don't really care about that, then we don't engage with them. But we can engage with them on the Primerica financial aspect. Say, we can help you with that. We can definitely help you get a house and make sure you got good mortgage, and make sure you got your family covered, and make sure you got all your investments properly. Love you, have a great life, but it's like, if you want to participate in something bigger, then have somewhere to say, okay, well, here's how you can start getting happening. And we'll keep in contact and see, you can see there'll be routes. We want them to kind of come to us a little bit, though. We want to put them in a thing. If they decide to leave the chat in a couple days, that's what we want. That's the
Perfect.
filtration process.
Beautiful.
We don't want to put them in a leadership group. We
No.
want to put them in the
Exactly.
That's, and
Always be attracted back to the
and that's
same.
the funny part, is the understanding is that I know based on the way that the world looks and the manifestation processes and the way that we're building this thing, eventually everyone will come around to seeing the benefits of all this because we will show them. And once it's actually working and it's got like we got a good example and we're saying, look, it's working. In fact, we've got a ton of examples and we've connected all the communities that are working properly. And now everyone's got all this food and resources and stuff. And then what can they say? Then we've defeated the defeatist and they say, well, I mean, I guess you guys are successful. Maybe I want to dip my toe in and see where I can maybe do a part of it. We say, absolutely, we got places for you, you know?
So that's my last act today, then I'll stop trying to listen.
You don't have to.
But I wanna hold you guys accountable that you should find a place to actually make something physical. Whether
I
it's
agree.
planting a garden or whatever, that doesn't, that doesn't
100,000%.
matter.
Yeah, I think
Even if
that's,
it's just a little, let's say,
I think-
sanctuary and,
I think Joel's song circle this weekend, if people want to go out to, like, just sing songs around a campfire would be pretty awesome.
that'd be good too. That's happening. That's not, is that this weekend?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it is this weekend. It's Sunday. That's right, yeah.
yep, he was inviting folks to come out Sunday.
Nice, yeah.
where is that? Where is that?
Or it's up in New York.
It's like Dade City area, I
Pasco?
think. Yeah, it's like kind of near.
Or Hernando.
That's Hernando. Yeah, not a beach.
By the way, I think one circle.
But, you know, and that's the thing, you know, putting some attention and energy into some people's property that and like I said here, I want to come up with a written agreement about what it means for everyone that's participating in it. What does it mean that we're growing food on your property? It's got to be in there that they can't just be like, okay, now that you've grown it, it's mine, you know, and I get to keep everything. It's like, no, there's an understanding of an equal exchange of energy, right? So it's like, you know, we want to be able to provide you with enough food to be able to scrap. Obviously, people like Joel, it's gonna be an easy ass conversation because he's gonna be like, yeah, take half of it, take all of it, like, I'll live off my squash, you know, like, you know, like. But basically, that's the thing too, is like, you know, coming up with those agreements of like, what are the doing to
So the
participate.
good thing is that planting is coming up.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a good
now,
thing.
at the end of the.
So, working with, local, already, public gardens, finding, where those are, what those are, I know. You know, but really, like, you know, taking a look at them, seeing like what they need. I'd really like, I definitely think it'd be really important, I feel like my buddy Wilkie might be the person to do this, I need to contact him and talk more, but Wilkie's a really amazing permaculture, kind of like, he does it kind of out of the box, not by like the book, so to speak, but it's working really well. He basically just like feels the land and has like, he's a farm consultant. And he like goes to people's farms, tell them how to like farm better, but he also basically is just like, but also this farming method is horrible. So like tell him straight up, he's just like, you know, you could be getting way more if you just did this, but like, you know, but you do what you gotta do, I'm just a consultant. And then like, and they still stick with all their monocropping and stuff. And he's just like, well, if you just did monocrop, you'd have way more. But like, if you do need to stick with monocropping, here is some of the things that you can do with your monocropping. But like, it's not as successful, it's not as good. But he goes around and helps people like figure out their permaculture designs. And so, you know, maybe be able to bring him out, like somebody that can come around and like really give a perspective on like, okay, this plant goes here, this plant goes here, you know, start getting something set up. Something as simple as the corn squash beans. Let's just set that shit up. You know what I mean? Like just like something that's a mutualistic setup that everyone knows. That's a good example of like, you know, this is working. See, all this stuff is growing. The squash is covering the ground. The beans are climbing the corn. You can harvest the corn.
Or a mushroom,
Well, and that's the thing too, is it's like just seeding mycelium. That can work really well with permaculture, hugelculture, because you're already putting a bunch of rotten wood under there. And then you have logs that you've plugged with mycelium that colonizes the entire thing. And now you've got all your plants, but also mushrooms popping up. So that's genius, you know, and that's really what we need to be doing, you
Like
know.
a real easy place we could
everywhere.
potentially do the like gorilla planting is near like the small streams and like the rivers. Like we could do some aquaculture. That's
Yeah.
pretty
I mean,
like that's public land where
rainwater ditches and stuff like that.
yeah. I think so too. I mean, that would be, you know, it's almost like, that's the thing. who's watching that shit?
No one.
You know what I mean? So it's like, literally, you go in there, you plant a couple trees, nobody's gonna touch it. You know, they won't even, like, the people who are mowing, they just like don't even.
They don't go down
understand.
there.
Yeah, well, that's true. I see what you mean as far as like, you know, like actually close to it as
Yeah.
well, like where they can't even access.
Yeah.
So now it's growing. I mean, great bet. I think that's a great bet. That's the type of stuff that we need to, we're prospecting for that too, as we're going around. Another place also that I've thought of as well, aligning with churches. They have so fucking much land. So much land.
We need-
It's ridiculous.
that's
Just can
along
we
the
have this
lines of-
small spot and start growing
We need to
food
make
in
a
your
list.
community?
We need to make a list,
You
right?
know? Yeah,
Of like businesses we can call, churches we can call.
Potential
make
locations.
a list of potential food growing locations.
Uh-huh.
So I think, you know, going to establish community gardens is sort of one thing, and it is beneficial, always beneficial. But I think when you actually find somebody that's saying, all right, I'll give you this, but like I said, if it's a 4x4 area, 5 feet wide, like 10 feet long, whatever. You now have established this thing for your, you know, of course you're gonna give, it doesn't matter what this field is or anything of that stuff. That doesn't even matter. It's the actual symbol of setting this thing up and actually following through.
Right.
Doing it. And if you grow one squash plant
Right.
and it comes up and makes
Look,
5
Communitopia's first squash, like, you
We just
know.
did it, and now we
Yeah.
got proof. We take a picture of that squash.
Yeah, I think
And
really
we did.
priority, do something.
Actual
Physical.
Even just knocking on doors is like we're doing something.
That's the truth too. I mean, it's like, and that's what we've been talking about too, Glenn, tonight. Like, you know, like the talk
document.
is something, the planning is something, the writing down stuff, this meeting is something. It's not like people can
Right here,
stop
this
at,
is documented.
people can stop at it because they're, oh, well, worried, well, you gonna do something? You know, it's like, okay, they can stop when they want. But if we continue doing these meetings, absolutely, if we're not doing it, someone's gonna come in who's gonna be like, hey, can I do that?
Can I do
Can
this
I do
thing?
that right now? We're focusing on building, you know, first of all, our Primerica business.
Consensus.
We're also focused on doing a meeting and coming up with like the brain work behind the things. I do want to put energy and attention. We could even, you know, and that's kind of what I was talking about yesterday.
I'm
too.
gonna start knocking on doors this week.
Perhaps, and that's
That's
fair,
just what's
fair.
gonna happen.
Cool. I mean, and that's a good bet. So, you know, and then we can, you know, but what I'm saying too is like, for instance, so we know that.
It'd be helpful to have the social media stuff like a business card or a flyer before you start.
Exactly.
doing
Definitely.
So, right,
Let's
that's,
do
that's,
it.
you
Oh,
know,
we need to, right? We can have that done this week.
Business just keeps jumping in, putting the stuff down, and that is a dangerous thing too.
Right.
Everybody that takes action, doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
A Facebook page would be an awesome thing, that's huge.
That's huge.
You know,
That's
like just
extremely
the idea and of saying it, like you've been, you know, pointing it out right along, and, you know, I applaud that. If you want to say, you know, like, everybody in a community, any community, even me, I'm here thinking I'm like I don't wanna say I'm a accidental tourist, or whatever you want to call it, but the point is, this is my community too. I go around and pick up garbage when I go on my walks.
Oh, yeah.
I throw it in the nearest trash can. That's something. It's not, it doesn't really matter what it is, it's a gesture, you know, it's
right. Well, it's an understanding
So-
that we use our each moment.
and you going and knocking on those doors, go for it, man, because should say, do whatever you're gonna do that actually adds to,
Mhm.
and that's really what matters. It
Yeah.
doesn't, physical things, take a picture of something or whatever, really isn't the point. It's all about what you guys are doing, to make this thing happen.
Yeah. I feel
Mhm.
that.
All y'all.
I feel that.
When can we meet to like work on the page?
I'm busy today and I'm free for the rest of the week, except for one day or 2 days. I have some photo shoots planned, but
Okay.
I haven't solidified which days. I'm thinking he said maybe Sundays. Oh yeah. And like with the social media stuff, like I've been supporting myself off of social media since 2021 full time. Like everything,
Nice.
like I feed myself, I fix my RV, I paid my bills, I've gotten new tires, I've done RV maintenance, all this stuff. So I know how social media like works.
Yeah,
And
sweet.
it's a really good thing that you guys need to activate. You can talk
Yeah.
about it forever, but social media, having that page will actually give people something to look at and join,
Right.
other than just a group.
That's,
Right, I
that's
started the group chat because
temporary.
that's what I know, and that was an easy
Oh,
way
yeah.
to just throw people
We're
in.
not, we're not knocking,
I know,
we're not
I
knocking
know.
the group chat.
I know nobody's bashing me, I know this, I understand that, I'm not offended,
By
I'm
the
aware.
way, by the way, Facebook
I'm
sucks.
aware I'm not offended.
Facebook is bad.
All I'm trying to bring attention to.
Everything that
is-
we're doing is not optimized yet.
Right. And I,
Facebook is,
and I knew that,
Facebook
I
is
knew
bad.
that from the
Like,
beginning. I know that from the
we
beginning.
wanna, like a,
Scroll that out.
platform for these groups to be more effective as well. Like, meeting in person is probably not the best
We're
way
gonna
to
start with
have.
what we have to.
Right, and it's all,
That's where we're at.
it's all layering.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to bring attention to, is that it's like, you know, just the fact that the group chat exists means that people know about this that didn't know about it, right? And so, and this is a way for me to easily just be like, hey, oh, also, throw you into this thing, if you're interested,
We're
now
just
everyone
priming the
knows
pump here.
that's what it is. That's really what it is. And so it's like, we got some juice in the group chat because I just keep adding and people want to talk and people are just like engaged. So that's good
Let's go.
enough. That's good enough. And
Let's
so
go.
the fact people look at it and they say 60 people in a group chat interested in this one
Let's
thing,
go.
you know? You know, 60 people interested in anything at all, you see that and that makes you more interested. You know, if, you know, like you join a group with one person in it, that's less interested, right? So now that we got the Communitopia group chat, we can now create the group. And hopefully at least a good majority of those people will, or sorry, page. Hopefully we invite those people to the page and they'll want to be a part of it. And so now we already got the priming that now other people are gonna want to join the page because it's not just one friend on a Communitopia thing, which is my dad, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I go, great, you know? They're really doing it.
So I'm gonna block off like Friday evening. I'm gonna go canvas like Friday evening from like 4 to 8:30. Canvas for 4.5 hours. And is there a time tomorrow we could meet to work on the page? If you're free tomorrow?
Yeah.
Hey, Baba,
My RV to drive.
Chris,
Yes, mother?
We can
I'm gonna
meet-
have to bounce. I have a meeting coming up.
So like meet in
That's
person,
fine. We're
so-
about to end it here in about 10 minutes at the most, so.
Okay.
Okay, well, I want to talk to you. I have a whole list of questions.
I can do
Okay,
it.
I can
perfect.
figure out how to get
We'll
to
just-
you.
All right, I love you.
I love you
How
too,
far
Mom.
away are you?
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What's the vital?
I don't think I can have.
I don't know how to end it.
I'm saying, I've gotten mixed messages. It is like a
So-
business, but I am watching my friend's art studio and she does live there and I'm watching like the vet.
We can meet
Yeah.
nearby. We don't have to meet at
So you guys-
at like
I
your
mean, we
home.
can meet at my place.
That was-
Honestly, that would be ideal because I'm waiting for dad's check over there. I have an appointment on Friday.
Friday. but
No, I don't.
I'm talking about
Yeah, exactly.
Let me,
Yeah, I'm free from 1 till, or yeah, I'm actually free from noon to 5:30, 5 or 5:30
On
tomorrow.
Friday? Oh, tomorrow. So that's about when I'm also free.
I would hang out tomorrow at your house and help you guys set up the social media.
I have a meeting at 9:30. I have a meeting at 6. I'm trying to recruit Joseph Park.
Yeah, that's what I've got
That's,
scheduled at.
that's gonna
at
be,
6.
yeah, that's gonna be a
Tomorrow,
very
that day.
interesting meeting.
So if you get right over to Chris, I can pick you up.
I've walked like that far before, but I'd be happy
It's a
to.
good walk.
It's like an hour, not that bad.
Well, so, yeah, okay.
Up to
Okay.
you.
Hour and a half. But
I gotta
I'd be happy to-
I'm gonna spend time focusing today then on creating some material for Communitopia and less, and that's, once again, I'm explaining this again, just to continue to be clear about what I'm talking about. I will be spending less time on Primerica business today and more time on Communitopia because I've decided to,
this is like
which is fine, it's all connected
diesel, man.
anyway.
It's gonna be diesel for what we're doing.
Right,
Like,
it
we
is,
have a better
absolutely.
structure for Communitopia. It's gonna let
It's
us
gonna
build
lend
the
to,
Primerica
I highly agree, and so.
skeleton.
Right, so
for
it's,
the organization
it's
better.
all contributing to itself, and so that's important to understand where the energy is putting in. I'm not gonna be spending a bunch of time setting up appointments today. I'm not going to be hitting certain minimums for instance, or maybe I would if everything closed right and like 5 people contact me and they're like, hey, let's set up an appointment, I could still hit a minimum, but you know, but that I think is very critical.
What's your email, Princess?
Mine,
Mhm.
for what?
I'm just inviting everyone to this social media planning tomorrow.
ULYL,
LYL
princess with a Y, not an I,
YNCESS.
111@gmail.com. That's my email on my phone.
And I sent this to your Uta Raptor
Yeah, that's fine.
as well. I'm just setting this from noon to 5:30 tomorrow.
That's fine, yeah.
That's just like a general. Obviously, it probably won't last that long, but just blocking it off so that I don't schedule
If I
appointments.
do get you over there, I would.
Yeah, I just don't want anyone to set appointments. during that time.
Oh, Friday, right? Is that what we're talking about? Well, I do have that meeting at 6, but maybe after that. I got a meeting at 9, so like so if Friday is.
I've actually got to run. I've got a 11:30 appointment. I need to go.
Yeah, that's way more.
Station.
Maybe Meg will let me.
Word. I
Yeah,
gotta run. I
you as
gotta
well.
be on it.
Sounds good. Yeah, no worries.
11:30.
Love you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Let me-
Yeah, it's time.